All right. There. Program here. So I can. If this actually works. It should technically work. Trying to get this see if I can get my Xbox controller to work. That'd be pretty cool. I actually don't know. Gamepad tester. Yeah, it doesn't detect this. Would have been cool. But to try my PlayStation controller instead. I got raided. What's going on? Equal injection. Just got the stream started here. Thanks for the raid. I want to do some testing with some controllers, but none of them seem to want to. What brings you to this most silent random stream? Just restart my restart. I just restart this. I'm gonna restart and retry. See if I can get the controller to work. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. Doing anything interesting on your side? Hope your stream was productive. Bug fixes? Yeah, I hear you. I've got quite a few bugs in this setup already. Usually if I get going really far and I don't find any bugs, I start to get worried. Yep, the fun stuff for sure. I've been having issues with Unity whenever I pull from their whatchamacallit their source control. I've had issues pulling things and having it not work after working on it elsewhere. Let's see, I bet if I connect my other USB controller, it'll probably work. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I'm not worried about it today. I actually wasn't going to stream tonight. I was going to reset because not only do I do this, I'm learning game development on the side. I play retro games on another channel called Golden Ogre Games, where I just beat like NES games, Super Nintendo games, and such, which is why I got the shelf behind me. But my desk setup isn't very ideal for programming. I'm realizing I should move some stuff around. I got a CRT television in front of me right in the middle. 3 monitors and a laptop and a desktop, and it's a disaster. But I'm off for the next 5 days, so hopefully I'll get some time to smooth it all out. Did I plug this in? Look at this one try with the USB PlayStation controller. Yeah, of course that works. None of the buttons are mapped. I have them mapped to different things, but I could change that. That'd be much easier to. twice. I did speed that up a little bit. Oh, Jay. Boom. Boom. Yeah. My day job is in IT. When I got my degree, I was having a lot of fun with game development, but it didn't go anywhere. But I was learning Unity and Unreal Engine and C++, SFML, and all kinds of different things, and never really have time to learn this stuff. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy it more than I enjoy playing games sometimes. But there's so much to learn, so slowly but surely. And Unity is a strange, strange beast as well. Do we have all the incomings? We got all the incomings. What was I doing last? So I was doing this inventory thing. So I think what I should do is make a meat item. I think that's what I was doing last. Textures. No. Prefabs? Nope. We want scripts. Inventory. Scriptable object gold. Gold loot. So loot should be the cheeseburger thing. Cheeseburger. Steak. Let me fix that. Item SO. Loot. This is loot. It doesn't have an ISO. Okay, so we're gonna make this. Why does that say loot? Because that's the gold. Then I have a gold one. Hold on. That's the mushroom. Yeah. Mushroom will be health. Mushroom. So let's put that on. This is just like my learning project. This is like not my game. Trying to learn various game mechanics without getting tendonitis. Or carpal tunnel, I mean. This one that I'm learning has inventory system and some cool stuff. UI, whatever. Alright. Is that set up? Boop. Nice. Nice. Doesn't do anything, but we have two of them. We gotta make these clickable.
Just a tiny bit of space around it. I'm just going to go to image, canvas size, and I'm going to double it up to 128 by 128. It now fills the space much more like the steak does. I'll then hit Command S to save, Once you've updated all of those, you should be all set. So you can start the game with an empty inventory, and as you collect them, they'll fill and they'll actually be the right size. Now, I know we haven't handled stacking, dropping items, using items, that sort of thing. We will get there, I promise, but that's coming up in the next video. Until that time...
For any of those who are listening, following along, I could show the video, but I don't have enough real estate on my screen. But I'm watching a YouTube channel called... Where's the name of it? Night Run Studio. It's pretty good stuff. I've kind of blasted through his inventory tutorials.
But they don't actually do anything at this point. So
it's pretty good stuff.
These items integrate with our stats, our health, and all of our other systems so that we can click on them to use them. Let's get started. So first off, it's all going to begin in our inventory slot.
First off, that's disorienting to have music and a video playing at the same time, so I'm going to pause the nostalgia video.
Slots, as they're going to be detecting the clicks and sending that message along. So let's head into that script. Now, the way we're going to want this to work is that when we click on these slots, they send a message to the inventory manager to use the items and...
Inventory manager. We're going to be using it. The inventory slots we'll call the inventory manager.
Subtract the quantity. To do this, we could use buttons to detect, but that will create problems down the road as they aren't great for clicking and dragging and that sort of thing. So instead, we're going to use this as a chance to explore Unity's interfaces.
Yeah, I need to know all about the interface stuff. All right, so let's get our scripts up. Scripts. We need our inventory slot. Should be in here.
So up here beside our mono behavior, we're going to add that we are now using the eye pointer click handler interface.
Eye pointer click handler. Okay.
And in order for this to work, we're just going to have to right click and in our quick actions, make sure that we're using Unity's event system.
Eye pointer click handler. There it is. What do we need?
Next, we're also going to have to right-click and implement the interface. Here we can get rid of the garbage inside, and so whenever we click on one of these...
Oh, on pointer click interface. Okay, so we're going to be... Avoid. Whoops. And then we need objects for our inventory manager. That's good. We'll take that. We're called whenever we click on this object. Pointer, events, data, event data. So this is all new to me. I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm gonna have to take this video's word for it. Pointer event data. Event data. I'm gonna guess it's just like a listener.
Slots. First, let's check to see if the quantity is greater than 0. And if there's actually an item in this slot, then we want to look at our event data and essentially just check if the button is equal to the input button left. Later, we'll use right-click to drop items, which is why we're differentiating here. Now, if we have left-clicked on a slot and there actually is an item there, we want to tell our inventory manager to use the item. It won't like this as we haven't created this method yet, but we'll just set it up. And here we just want to...
Inventory manager, okay. We're still in inventory slot, yeah. But this is an interface on pointer clicker. On pointer click, pointer event data. Pass that in. If quantity is less than 0. Oh, with greater than 0, yeah. That's why it didn't make any sense. Greater than 0, so you have to have something. Then event data dot button is going to be inputs button dot left. Left click? I don't know what that is. We're winging it. Inventory manager item. We gotta make that. We got to make that. Make that an inventory
Want to pass
management.
along this, which is this script.
The script, the slot. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I'll have all this stuff. Quantity. I guess we won't need quantity. We probably need, yeah, probably just quantity, and maybe this. This.
That way the inventory manager will know which slot is in fact being clicked. Now before we leave this script, let's just optimize a little. We're going to make it so that we get the inventory manager on start. That way we don't have to...
I must have spelled something wrong. What is this? Unity Visual Script. Oh, because Unity Engine Event Systems. I pointer. Event Systems. Click does not implement an interface. I pointer click handler. Click. I think I did this wrong. I did. That's lowercase. Alright. Now we're happy.
fill any boxes in Unity, we'll just automate it. So on start, let's make sure that our script knows that the inventory manager is equal to get component in parent inventory manager. With that done, we can make this a private.
Oh, yeah. The old school. Yeah, that one. It knows. No, not get component. We got to get it from parent because it's one up.
Private reference, as it'll keep our inspector nice and clean.
Yeah,
Now, at the moment, our
but you're
inventory
right.
manager is relatively boring.
Private because we're
Just
bringing it
use
in
the
with
method
component.
for when we're adding items. We want to
Now, inventory manager.
expand this by adding our use item method. So down below the public add item method, we're going to add a public void use item. And remember that it's having a inventory slot passed into it. Here we're just going to do a quick check. We'll make sure that the slot actually has an item scriptable object. We'll also make sure that its quantity is greater than 0. And then for testing purposes, we're just going to run a debug log where we'll just say that we're trying to use item and we'll print its name.
All right, so we got the SO, scriptable object. And we need to check. Need to check if it's not no, obviously. It better not be no. That's the problem. SO is now no. That's not good. Inventory no slot. Oh, okay. We're not passing this. We're passing inventory slot in. Right. Slots that I need SO is no, and the quantity is greater than 0 because it has to have a quantity, otherwise you're not getting anything. I guess then we're just gonna print or debug print testing purposes, I guess. That item SO item name, right? Item SO that good? This item that will get called from here. This should be happy. Use item. That'll drop. Yeah, item slot will get passed through here. Inventory slot. Yeah, that's what I meant.
And since we already programmed our slots to find the inventory manager themselves, there's no setup here. Now when we get in game, we can click on the items and we do get a debug printout. Now next up, we're ready to actually make these items do something.
Right, let me guess. You're gonna go to the items scripts, have method, do a thing. I'll probably do a thing. Sure. I will test it though. We'll test. It's always good to test. I should. Test. I should change it so I can actually use this controller. But we're hit this. We'll hit this. Loop, loop, loop. Oh no, that's not working. That's not good. I mean, it could be. No, I guess it would be working if it was clickable. Maybe I'll have a raycast on or something.
Debug printout.
Uh, Let me make sure the script is actually getting. Grab inventory canvas. Slots. Hmm. Yeah, something's not working.
Now next up, we're ready to actually make these items on the items and we do get a debug printout. Now next up, we're ready to actually make
So bugs. Immediate bugs at least. See if we even get into this. See if you stop. Okay, it does empty. It's good. All right, so it's not. Ah, okay. I think I know what's going on. And now it works. So something's blocking. Something's blocking it. Alright, so that's okay. Working. Use item is called. Mushroom is called. So if I put this up, still works. This doesn't work. To get that out of the way, it works. So this is blocking. This is not blocking. But it's starting off blocked. Interesting. That seems like a problem. Uh so inventory slot 1. Which is this? It's blocked by what? It was which slot was this guy? Oh no, what is that? What happened? Skills. Oh no. Okay, so something's weird with this. Yay. I don't know what happened there. Alright, so let's fix that. That was Stats Manager? No. UI. Match. Alpha 1. Is it this? Yeah, because if the alpha is 0 or 1, that shouldn't make a difference. This, I think I know. I think I know what happened. I think I know. Because if the alphas are 1, or the alphas are 0, they're still going to be blocking. That has nothing to do with whether they're active or not. So if I turn this on, obviously the game is starting. Collect and collect. Now I move over here. Now, if I clicked blocks raycast off. Okay, we have to block raycast here. This we don't have to block raycast. This we do. And then when we start, it's probably blocking raycasts. It's exactly what it's doing. So if we do 0, turn that off. Go to stats. Oh, but that's also 0. That. Now let's see if we fix it. Yay. And then if we do this, that works. Which is fine, but then that needs to be, what's the deal? Sort order 0, sort order 1, and then inventory is also 0. Inventory is just gonna, I should have layers for these, but actually we can't do it that way, can we? -1. Okay. Click these, nothing happens. Collect them. We got gold, sweet. Yay, we got an item. We can use it technically. And now if we bring up the menu, this menu will always be hidden. So what this should be, maybe I should just bring that over to the left and smaller. That would kind of be nice. Stats canvas. Let's bring this to 1. Let's let's bring it over. Can't. Why? Because it's the stats panel. Zoink. Left. Okay. And then if we shrink it. Oh no, can't do that. We had to shrink the whole thing. I guess we can't do that either. Yeah, why can't we? Because is it a... technically not interactable. Alright, so we're just gonna change the layer to this other thing. We go over here. This is stupid, but it'll be fine. I don't really like how I'm doing this, but this is not even my game, so we are going to change the health player UI. Health UI. We're gonna set this layer lower somehow. They'll let me. Okay, I think that's gonna be fine. That is going to be just fine. So let's go hide this thing. Hey, Poppy Gamer. Yeah, we're here. We're working some stuff out. Fixing a little bug that I got here, but I think I got to sort it out. Try one more time. Yeah, I've been on every night. Either here or Golden Older Games, but we're gonna be playing NES tomorrow night. So I won't be doing any game dev until Sunday. Hopefully this weekend I can reset up my area because this is not. I'm really messing up my elbow sitting the way I'm sitting right now. So we got this. Okay. Then we got this. Stats is fine. Oh, that thing is still in front though. Alright, I'm not too worried about that. I gotta fix that later. And I don't know what happened there. Let's fix that text. Stats panel. Banner. Just the skills panel. We're going to make it visible. We're going to fix whatever happened. This top part. There we go. Sweet.
Make these items do something. However, we don't want to put that logic in our inventory manager as it would turn it into a monster script. So instead, let's just create a new script which we'll call use item.
Use script, use item in a scripts inventory.
This item will be what triggers different effects from our items, but before we go there, we need to look at how we're actually changing our player stats. For example, my health and max health are handled with an on-screen UI, but I have a stats manager that handles my other stats. If you've been following along in this series, all of this happens in the stats manager. If not, you'll need to locate wherever you handle the stats for your game. Now, our stats manager has a list of all of our different stats, as well as a method for updating our max health, which updates the health and then also changes the on-screen text. I'm going to copy this and make another one. This will be for
Dealing with our player manager. Stats manager. Update max health. Update damage, which I've already done. Update defense. Which works just fine. So we're gonna do another update.
updating our current health.
Yeah.
I'll just copy this.
Yeah, update current health, that makes sense. Let's just copy this.
method one more time to show how stats like speed, which are not handled in an on-screen UI but instead through our stats menu, can be updated. Sorry for that rough cut. I just took out the health text line there.
Yeah.
We're going to be updating the text differently for stats like speed. Now to see how we're going to do that, let's go to our stats UI script. This one just holds all the user interface for our stats menu. And you'll notice that previously in the series we set up an update damage and update speed methods, which just update the text for those specific stats. Additionally, I have an update all stats method, which will update the text for all stats in the stats menu at the same time. Now we want to harness those methods in our stats manager. So at the top, let's just make a reference to our stats UI script.
Am I live? Yeah, I'm live. I'm just not pop. It's hard to tell that I'm moving, but I'm moving. Coding, it's a very silent job here.
Then scroll down here and just call those methods in order to update our text.
That's UI and update speed. Oh.
In the menu. We'll now just make a quick update in Unity to reflect those changes.
Stats UI. Hold on a second.
Methods in order to update our text for those specific stats. Additionally, I have an update all stats method, which will update the text for all stats in the stats menu at the same time.
Update speed.
We want to harness the
update stats manager. Okay.
those methods in our stats manager. So at the top, let's just make a reference to our stats UI script.
Okay, I got you. Stats UI. Then we can just call update all stats. Yeah, but I kind of already did that.
Script. Then scroll down here and just call those methods in order to update our text in the menu. Well, now
Okay. Stats, defense. Okay.
I'll just make a quick update in Unity to reflect those changes, going to our stats manager and making sure that it has a reference to the stats UI script, which is on the stats panel.
Theory. Get rid of that. Attack me. I'll let him hurt me a little bit. Hurt me. Blast these guys. Trying to. Oh, I never did the method to do that. To heal me. All right, so that's what we're doing next. If I click on the mushroom, I'll get the.
Now that we've set up a system so that
Yeah.
stat changes are actually affected in our UI, we can head back to the stats manager script where at long last we're going to get to that use item script we created 100 years ago. First, let's make a reference to it here at the top.
Okay.
Now all we're going to do here is make it so that if we have an item and its quantity is greater than 0, we're going to tell the use item script that it should apply.
Oh, inventory manager.
Last, we're going to get to that use item script we created 100 years ago. First, let's make a reference to it here at the top. Now all we're going to do here is make it so that if we have an item and its quantity is greater than 0, we're going to tell the use item script that it should apply the item effects, and then we'll send over the item scriptable object that we are using. Before we actually get into using the item, though, we want to make sure that we take the
Quantity. Yeah, minus equals 1. Or minus, whatever.
the item we just used out of our inventory. So we'll tell the slot that its quantity should go down by 1, and if its quantity happens to be below or equal to 0 at this point, we just want to make sure to reset the slot. So we'll tell the slot that its item SO is now null, and finally we'll just update the UI.
So we are going to subtract the quantity if slot quantity is less than 0. We want slot that item scriptable object null, so that we'll remove it. Then we're going to go ahead and update UI. Fantastic, and obviously we need to go to the use item script. Create this to apply the effect. Here's how we're going to do that.
For the slot so that whether it's empty or not, it now has the right number and icon. Let's head over to use item now and get rid of the start and update methods. Now all the logic we're going to put here in use item could technically go in the inventory manager, but that would really make it bloat, which is why we've created this helper script. So here we're just going to create the public void method, apply item effects, and make sure that it's ready to accept in an item scriptable object. We'll start by setting up the ability to change our health. So here we're just going to quickly make it so that if the item scriptable object has a value for current health that's greater than 0, it'll tell our stats manager that it should update health, and it'll pass along that amount. Because we're going to have quite a few of these little if statements, I'm actually going to remove the brackets here. I'm then just going to make a line here for our max health, which is essentially the exact same thing, except that it's passing along the max health value. The beauty of this is that you can have one item actually have effects on multiple stats, and it will check them all. That's why we're not using else if statements here. Now, while we're at it, let's just make one for our speed so that if there's a speed value put in, we can also
we actually don't want that. We want item SO item scriptable object. Then item SO dot current health greater than 0. For whatever reason, we're going to use our stats manager. Call instance. Update health. Item is so current. Yep, that's fine. Once all this stuff is built out, we'll actually be able to like build out the game more. But this is like the system, you know, doesn't just work on its own. So max health. Max health. So this is just looking for any plus. Okay, that makes sense. Anything above 1 on the script, it means it wants to update stuff. Update, this is max health. Speed. I'm gonna need to fix this because this isn't everything I have, this is everything he has. Speed. So let's kick this off to the side. Come on, get out. Stats manager. So we have update health, update max health, update. Well, we don't have an update speed. I will probably make item so dots damage is greater than 0. Then we want to do all this here. I should do this twice. Because I also made a thing for defense. Update defense. S. Is it damage? Update defense. Hold on. Scripts. Inventory. Nope, not inventory actually. We want item SOs? No. Player scripts. Skill tree. Taco. Fence up. Skill SO. Hmm. Oh, that's skill SO. Item SO. Maybe I never set that up actually. Damage. So damage. That doesn't sound like I did that correctly. Current health up, max health, speed, damage. No, damage is giving damage. Also, maybe I never made a defense. That's probably what happened. I never made a defense one. Damage. Well, we'll make it right now. Kind of crazy that it worked though. No, it's not an item. It's a stat. Inventory slot, boots, use item. Item SO defense. No. No, we don't have an item SO defense. That's stupid. That'll be like equipment and stuff later, maybe, but we have a stat UI that's probably calling it update defense. Okay, so defense is through the stat UI. Never mind, we don't need that then. So speed, I guess we'll do the update speed from stats manager. Update defense. We do have an update defense though. Ah, damn it. Do we need it though? I don't think we do. Combat stats. We do. Yeah, we just don't have an update. I think it's something funny. Alright, so we're gonna skip this for now. We're not gonna do that. Current health, current health. Update damage. We don't want items to actually update defense or damage, just health, max health. And I'm not concerned about speed, so we're good. We're just gonna do this. I know it doesn't make any sense. Probably don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's fine. You guys sort it out. we, I have this here so we can actually see the defense change. We actually kind of want that stats. No, this is item. Never mind, we don't need that. Okay, did I break it?
We'll update our speed. Now you can do that for any of the stats you've got in your scriptable object if you want, but the other thing we want to do while we're here is set up temporary items. So you'll notice we had that duration box in our item scriptable object, and so if our item actually has a duration set, we want to make sure that its effects only last for a set period of time.
Oh, do we need to do that? Oh, we do. Apply item effects and use item.
To do this, we're going to start a coroutine. We'll call it effect timer, and we'll just pass along the item as well as its duration. So for the coroutine, we'll make a IE. enumerator called effect timer, and again, just make sure that it's accepting a scriptable object as well as a float. All we'll do here is make it yield for a set amount of time, in this case the duration. And once that's done, we'll copy paste all of
Item SO duration. Why? We do. It's right here. What are you talking about? That's why. All right, so we're copying all that, not the duration stuff. Copy.
Items from up above, and just make it so that it subtracts them. So if it had currently added a bunch of health, it will now take away that same amount of health. Now back in Unity, I want to test this, so I've just opened up my stats menu, but you'll notice that if it had currently added a bunch of health, it will now take away that same amount of health. Now back in effect timer, and we'll just pass along the item as well as its duration. So for the coroutine, we'll make a I enumerator called effect timer, and again, just make sure that it's accepting a scriptable object as well as a float. All we'll do here is make it yield for a set amount of time, in this case the duration. And once that's done, we'll copy paste all our items from up above and just make it so that it subtracts.
All right, so
if
extra.
it had currently added a bunch of health, it will now take away that same amount of health. Now back in Unity, I want to test this, so I've just opened up my stats menu, but you'll notice that when I'm in game view, my inventory is overlapping. It's sort of funny. I actually want stats to take precedence, so I'm just going to click on my inventory canvas, and on the canvas itself, just set its sorting order.
All right, so let's do some testing. I'm sure it's broken. Yeah, we already fixed the thing he's talking about.
-1 so that it goes down below the other canvases. I'll then make my stats canvas transparent once more so that we're ready to test this. Now I'll just go to my inventory canvas, make sure to add the...
Oh, let's not start yet. Inventory canvas.
Use item script.
Use item scripts.
And then just make sure that I drag it into the inventory manager so that it
right.
knows where to find it. Now we're getting close at this point, but if I were to test now, you'll notice that when I go to use one of these items, nothing happens. That just has to do with the fact that I have so many overlapping canvases, and some of them have been set to block raycasts, and so they're not allowing my click to go through to the inventory.
That's the problem I
You can
had.
see here that if I went into my stats manager,
Literally had this problem.
clicked the raycast target on my stats canvas, I'd then be able to use the items just fine. This is a pretty easy fix. I can just go into my stats UI, which is where I'm currently toggling my canvases open and closed. And all I want to do is at the same time that I'm changing their alpha, I also want to change their status in terms of blocking raycasts. So when we set their alpha to 0, we'll make sure that they are no longer...
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I did it manually, but I guess it's probably good to fix that. So we want to go into stats UI and fix that.
currently toggling my canvases open and closed. And all I want to do is at the same time that I'm changing their alpha, I also want to change their status in terms of blocking raycasts. So when we set their alpha to 0, we'll make sure that they are no longer blocking raycasts. And then we'll just use the same line but set it true when we're opening the inventory. We're one
block when away. True. When not. That should fix the problem I already
This is
have.
complex. Right now, if you look at my stats, you'll see that I'm at 5 for speed. I can use the pumpkin and my speed goes up. If I wait a couple of seconds for that duration to finish, my speed drops back down. That's working great. However, you'll notice that if I collect another item and click here on my pumpkin, it actually uses the stake. Now, if you're experiencing something similar, the reason's probably because while we have a small icon, it's actually a very large sprite with a lot of empty space. So while you're trying to click item number 1, there's a good chance you're actually clicking on the empty space from sprite number 2. This is annoying, but fortunately it's relatively easy to fix. So what we'll want to do here is just find the offending graphic, change its sprite to multiple, apply it, don't worry about that white space, and then go into our sprite editor. Here we can just actually click and drag to draw a new outline for it. You'll notice I've already made mine a little smaller here, but it started off quite large. The trick here is just to make sure that it's actually square so it matches our icon.
That's the problem. I don't think I have more than one thing now. Yeah, so it gives me health, but it does not check my max health. That's silly. I'll have to do a check for that in the max health. Ouch. Skills panel. All right, so the thing he's talking about seems like it can also be a problem. So let's see if that is a problem. So if we go to skills panel, now we want to go to inventory, canvas, slots, inventory, item icon. It doesn't appear that it should be a problem, but I do want to have a second item. So let's get a second item in. But I only have 2 items, unfortunately. So we have this thing. Let's add another loot. Prefab. Loot prefab. Here we need scriptable item. We only have those 2 things. Okay, so let's fix that. Let's go to scripts. Item, scriptable item, whatchamacallit. So we got this. It's loot, which is the mushroom. Duplicate it. We want third item, I guess. I didn't quite get that far, but like a pretty cool item would be current health, max health plus 10, and let's just make it this weird. Any mushroom for now. It's not gold. Change it to skinny mushroom. We'll call it max mushroom. Adds 10 HP to max. item name, just copy that. So now if we start, we're gonna change the icon just because. Oh, this is loot 1 now. Didn't want it to be that. Oh yeah, so rename to Max Mushroom. We're gonna rename this to Mushroom. And Max Mushroom will be a different. Oh, was this? Oh, you know what? Because I gotta change the object. I'm gonna change this to Max Mushroom. There we go. It's smaller. Quantity will equal 10. Okay. And then if we go to let's see. Item SO, max health, item slots. Use item. Well, it'll be here, so it'll automatically find this, and it should update max health. Oh, so the update health thing, I need to fix that in Stats Manager. Stats Manager, update health. Current health plus equals this. Okay. If so, we're gonna do the add. Then if current health is greater than max health, current health equals max health. There we go. That should fix that. We'll find out. Because how much does this health do? This does +2. No, we get 2 of them. Right, we get 2 of them. Max health. Current health 5. Okay, that makes sense. No, it's fine. Okay, so we're gonna pick up these items. Get some gold. A little teeny mushroom is boom. Sweet. Okay, so okay. Okay, so well, go away. All right, so now if I use this item, it should go 50, not 51. Nice. What I also should do is if my max health, if current health equals max health, and you use that item, it should not. It should make a noise. It should go beep, and not allow you to use your item. Because if I use it, it's gone. It's gone forever. That would be the smart thing to do. If I use this, boom, boom. Look at that max health. Wait, what? Quantity 10. Yes, I screwed that up. But I know I did, so it's not. Ouch. Okay. Oh yeah, the thing I want to check as well is if the second item gets used or not. Oh, it's pretty accurate. I think we're good. Great. Now what I probably can do is instantiate one of these objects after killing an enemy so that you can get loot that way. Every once in a while get a little health. That'd be kind of sweet. Simple stuff like that.
Shape, and that we eliminate the empty space there now. However, we still have the ability to overheal our character. There's no check to make sure
I already fixed that
he
guy.
more health than he has. So let's go into our inventory slot, and whenever we click on an item, before we call use the item, let's just check to see if it's a health item. So if our current health when we click the item is greater than our max health, or even equal to it, we're just going to return, meaning we don't actually want to pass along the healing if we're already full.
Oh, that's even better. I like that idea. Oh, that's checking if it's full though. For on point click for inventory manager. Okay, on point click inventory manager. Where is it? No, it's not inventory manager. It's actually use item, isn't it? No, it's not. It's not that either.
Inventory slot, and whenever we
Inventory slot. So many scripts. Quantity is greater than 0, fine. So we're going to be checking quantity equals 0.
click on an item, before we call use the item, let's just check to see if it's a health item. So if our current health when we click the item is greater than our max health, or even equal to it, we're just going to return, meaning we don't actually want to pass along the healing if we're already full.
Good idea. Good idea. I like that. It actually stops it from even getting to that point. Stats manager. Instance. Current health. Greater than or equal to max health. Do I have to type all the other? I do. Just return. Don't do nothing. Yeah, that works.
Of course, we only actually want to do this if it's a healing item. If it's not, then we can skip this altogether. So let's just make sure that if the item scriptable object is actually trying to heal our current health, so it has a value.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Greater than 0. So if that's true and we don't need to be healed, we're just going to return and skip this line. Otherwise, we'll pass along and use the item as normal. One last little problem could remain, and that is just what if we only need 1 health to be full, but the item heals 5, it will still overheal us. So in our update health method, we just want to make sure that if we don't need all the healing, so if our current health becomes greater than max health, that we just set our current health to be equal to max health.
Yeah, we already did that. We're good.
Now we'll use what little bit of healing we need and not overheal the player. And with those 75 changes, we can now collect items just fine. You'll notice a couple of mine are a little small. That's just because I haven't updated all of my sprites to the right size. That said, I can now click on the pumpkin. You'll notice my speed goes up. After 2 seconds, if I look at my stats again, my speed has gone back down. Now when I click on the stake, if my health is full, it won't work. However, if I take some damage first and click on it, there we go, it's healing but not overhealing. Alright, hope you found that one helpful. We've still got a lot of work to do, and in the next video we'll make it so that we can stack items and also so that we can drop items we don't want. Hope to see you in that next video. Until then, this is Matt with Nightrun Studio.
Alright. So I think right now, I go to... Curious. So 1, 2. If we get rid of these, collect 2 items, what happens? Does it create a slot or not create a slot? It does not create a slot. So you have to have the slots. So one thing you could do is have it so you can unlock slots as you level up. That's kind of cool. That's a thing. I don't like the way that is, but also not too concerned about it. Also have this. Nothing happens on level up. I gotta fix that. Cool. Those items don't disappear. That's also good. So we actually need that. So if we control Z, there we go. We don't want 3. We want to just lock them. We can do that. We can unlock the slots within the game. Interesting. Fun.
Cheers. Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio. This is the final setup video before we get to work on the actual shop for this shop system. And where we left off, we're at the point that we can collect items. However, each time we collect a new item, it just fills a new slot. There's no stacking, and we can keep collecting items even after our inventory is full. So in this video, we're going to add stacking, we're going to make it so that excess items get dropped, and we'll also add functionality so you can right-click in order to drop items you don't want. Let's get started. Alright, so step number 1 is stacking items. So let's head into our item scriptable object here, and we're just going to make a variable, which is going
Getting a little bit unwieldy.
to be the stack size. This allows us to make it so that each item can stack up to a different amount, so you could have loads of mushrooms if you want, but only room for 1 steak at a time. You can choose. So now we're going to head over to our inventory manager. It already has an add item method, which checks first of all if the item we collected is gold. And actually, we can get rid of this else statement here. We added a return, so if it is gold, it won't continue to process. So that was just some added logic we didn't need. need. Now at this point, if we collect an item that's not gold, the first thing we want to do is see if there's already a slot that has that item, and if so, does it have any room left?
Yeah, that makes sense. For each. So we're doing SO items. Slots. Item slots.
So we'll make a for each loop. Remember, you can double tap tab to generate that syntax. And we're just going to look at every slot in our item slots array. And if the slot scriptable object matches the item we just picked up, and the slot's quantity is less than that item's max stack size, meaning there's still room, then we want to add this item to that slot. Now doing that isn't necessarily as easy as you'd think. First we have to see how much space is left. So we'll start with our stack size, how much we can fit in the slot, and then subtract how much is currently in that slot.
Say what? Wait, so if slot item SO is equivalent to, oh, if it's the same slot item SO, and the quantity is less than the stack size, which is the new variable we just created, then we're going to create this, I'm assuming, available space it. Available space equals item SO dot stack size quantity. Seems to like it.
Then we can figure out how much we want to add. Now for this, it's going to be one of two numbers. So we're going to use mathf.min and pick the smallest of two numbers. If we have more items than we can fit in this slot, then we just want to use the available space. However, if there's room, we want to put the full quantity.
Available space quantity. Oh, okay. Take the minimum. So if the available space is 3, the quantity is 4, it'll take the minimum, which is available space. But if quantity is less than space, I guess that's one way to do it.
And so we'll pick whichever of these two is smallest and go with that. So now we'll just simply tell the slot that its quantity needs to go up by however much we've added. And then we're going to subtract that quantity from the amount to add, so we can find out how many items we still have left. If there were 5 mushrooms and we've placed 3 of them, our new quantity is going to be 2, and we still have to find a place for those 2. Now before we go doing any of that, we want to update our UI so that the slot actually has visuals to match its data. So we'll say slot.updateUI, and here we are just calling this method in the inventory slot that simply changes the sprite, the text, and that sort of thing so that it shows the correct number and visual. All right, so let's pretend that we've run out of items to place. If that's the case, we're just going to return now, and we're all done adding the item. That said, if we had 5 mushrooms and only placed 3 of them, we need to keep looking at other slots. And so now, if there's no other mushroom slots, we're going to start looking for some empty slots. Here we can reuse our old method with just a little bit of a tweak. So we'll go through each of the slots, and if we find one that's empty, meaning it has no scriptable object, we'll once again calculate how much we can add to it.
That reuse. Oh, I did that fast.
And if we find one, if that's the case, we're just going to return now, and we're all done adding the item. That said, if we had 5 mushrooms and only placed 3 of them, we need to keep looking at other slots. And so now, if there's no other mushroom slots, we're going to start looking for some empty slots. Here we can reuse our old method with just a little bit of a tweak. So we'll go through each of the slots, and if we find one that's empty, meaning it has no...
Oh, okay. So we're using this inventory slot thing here.
scriptable object, we'll once again calculate how much we can add to it. Here we're just going to reuse our logic from before. Here we just want to take the minimum number between the item stack size and quantity. You'll notice I put a subtraction there. That should be a comma. I'll just fix that. At this point then we can just pass along
Stack size, quantity, Item SO quantity.
Along the scriptable object to the slot, we'll pass along the quantity, and then we'll tell the slot to update its UI. Now, there's no setup necessary at this.
No setup necessary. Is it broke? It's probably broke. Did we break it?
Point, you can just give it a try, and you'll find that now our items are in fact stacking and then filling the next slot once we hit that max of 3. The only problem at this point is that once my inventory is full, I can still collect more mushrooms, and it's not noticing that I have no room for them. So let's make it so that after our inventory is full, we drop any excess items. So
Alright, first let's just see if that's actually the case. So then we need to go back, max mushroom, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I really think this is gonna work the way I think it's going to work. Let's try that. Oh no, look at that. That's not good. That's not right. Yeah, that ain't good. Because inventory probably doesn't have the slots. That's why. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We are going to re-add the 5 slots back. 1, 2. They're just objects. They're not doing nothing. Or which means the actual slots will have quantity 0. I don't know, let's just roll with it. But that should give us our 5. Like, okay, boom. Money. Oh no. Alright, that one works. 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, well that's not good. I don't know what happened there. What? Alright, first also let's fix the quantity. Oh, stack size. There's the stack size. Health is 10. Let's fix the quantity. Like I gotta do that within the actual. Okay, this should not be a thing. So let's just get rid of this. Okay, so now we have the 3 max mushrooms. I think these are the ones that technically work. 1, 2, 3. Quantity, we want 1. Oh, but then we're gonna want more than that. Sorry. So then we can just duplicate, 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 duplicate. Okay. Oh, let's not use that as this. Link. All right. Good. Walk around. No, it didn't work. Oh, because maybe I picked the other one up first. 2, 1, 2, 1. No. That didn't work. Okay, another thing I'm gonna do though, real quick, is edit player preferences. Or no, not player preferences. Um, project preferences. Project settings. Input manager. Vertical. That's fine. Shoot. Positive button. Get motion from all joysticks. Axis. Should I have to do both key or mouse? Joysticks? No. All right. I'm not gonna worry about this because I don't know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to controller input. I would like to be able to do this with the controller, but I have to configure it properly, and it's not gonna work. But that's fine. All right, let's try this again. Let's see what's going on. Get the cash. Got 15. The little mushroom. Got 1. Get another little mushroom. It's going there. Okay, so it's not stacking. It's just not stacking. Okay, and then these are being collected or whatever. That's fine. We got a little bug to work out. A little bit of a bug. So if it's not stacking, let's take a look at the code. Stack size. It's too silent, so let's put on. Let's put on. Stack size. How many can you have? Inventory slots. Inventory manager. This might not be right. Quantity. Item amount to add equals whatever this is. Are we actually doing anything to amount to add? We might not be. Maybe that's where it's messed up. Quantity. So for each Their slots is no. Oh, I don't have any of those checks. Oh, what's going on here? All the same. Stack check. Available space. Equal stack size. Yeah, that's not good. I know that's a bug. So let's try that one out. I don't know if that's the exact problem, but we're gonna find out. Alright, let's get this guy first. Boop. Boop. No. Damn. Damn. Definitely was a problem though. Right, amount to add. Get the minimum of the available space or quantity. Then we're gonna plus equals the amount to add. The quantity, subtract the amount to add, update the UI. Quantity is less than 0.
We
Kaput.
can reuse our old method with just a little bit of a tweak. So we'll go through each of the slots,
Drifted off? Hey, that's fine.
and if we
You're
find
sleepy,
one
you're
that's
sleepy.
empty, meaning it has no scriptable object, we'll once again calculate how much we can add to it. Here we're just going to reuse our logic from before. Here we just want to take the minimum number between the item stack size.
So item amount to add equals the min stack size minus quantity.
And quantity. You'll notice I put a subtraction there. That should be a comma. I'll just fix that. At this point then, we can just pass along the scriptable object to the slot, we'll pass along the quantity, and then we'll tell the slot to update its UI. Now there's no setup necessary at this point, you can just give it a try, and you'll find that now our items are in fact stacking and then filling the next slot once.
Yeah, items are not stacking and not filling the next slot. So I screwed something up. If the quantity is less than the stack size, find available space, stack size minus slot quantity. Slot quantity. Maybe that has something to do with it. Rook figured this out. Max mushroom. That's right, I forgot I did that. It's on stack size 1. It's so stupid. That might have been it. So it wasn't a bug, it was a feature. Is it gonna work? Oh, you dummy. Okay, cool. Alright, so we need to attack. Boom, 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 boom. Combat kind of sucks, but that could be adjusted. We took some damage. But before we do that, we're going to use a small mushroom to boost our health up. And we use this to heal up. Boom. Let's fight this guy. I also want to make it if they see that they get hit with the arrow, that they come attack you with a timer, because otherwise it's too easy. Or maybe the arrow doesn't go as far. But that's another day. Wink. Cool. All right. So my thing works. I was just being an idiot. It's really easy to make a mistake, click something you didn't mean to click. Yeah, we almost got a full-blown system going on here.
Once we hit that max of 3. The only problem at this point is that once my inventory's full, I can still collect more mushrooms, and it's not noticing that I have no...
Yeah, this is basically Zelda, but instead of hearts, it's HP. There's gonna be like magic at some point with MP power. I originally was gonna make this turn-based like Final Fantasy, but like that's just so much work that it's easier to just do it this way. But like I said, this is just all the different mechanics that I'm gonna need to the full game that I want to make. So between learning how to deal with sprites, inventory, health, camera, shops, which is next. After that, once I learn how to move the appropriate stuff into a new scene and not have a break, because that's a really hard thing to do, then basically it's level building, monster building, stat type of things. So, and then eventually I'm going to take a lot of those systems and rework them and reuse them into the 3D game that I want to make, which is going to be a whole nother thing. But
let's make it so that
it's my summer project for half of the week.
Our add item method is now checked if it's gold. It's checked if there's already slots with the same item. It's checked empty slots, but what if there's just plain no room? So here, once we've checked every...
I would prefer to just added the slot, but that's fine. Item management. Inventory slot. What is this? This can go away. Arrow can go away. Bow can go away. Knockback. Player movement's probably solid. Combat. Skills tree. Health.
It's checked if there's already slots with the items. So our add item method is now checked.
Alright, we're dealing with the inventory manager script, which I thought was broken, but apparently it's not broken.
If it's gold, it's checked if there's already slots with the same item. It's checked empty slots, but what if there's just plain no room? So here, once we've checked every other possibility, if our
If slots are full, drop items or expand slots. I'm not sure exactly how I would do that, but that would be the other option.
quantity is still greater than 0, we need to drop the excess loot. And for this, we're just going to create a new method called drop loot. And we do need to pass along the item we're dropping, as well as how many of them there.
But that's not talking about slots. That's talking about if you already have too much of the item. I don't know. I'll trust the process, though.
There will be. Let's go ahead and prepare this method. We'll make a private void called drop loot, which is going to take in that item scriptable object, as well as an integer for quantity. Now, when we drop loot, we're going to want to instantiate a new prefab of that loot on the map. So
That makes sense. Oh, right. There.
So if we pop into Unity, you can see we already have a loot prefab, which is what we're using for all the items that are currently on our map, and we just load them with a scriptable object, and it changes their identity. That's what we're going to do now when we need to drop an item. So to do this, we're going to have to make a reference. We'll make a public game object reference to that loot prefab.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are we still doing all that in the same thing? Slide over, yeah. Yeah, what is with this song? Okay.
While we're at it, we're also going to make a reference here to the transform of our player, as that.
Right, because you're going to want to drop the item in the same spot, or at least close by where you are. So public. First we need game object. That might be called player transform.
That's where we're going to be dropping the loot prefab when we want to put it back on the map.
Yeah, player.
Now that we've got those variables, we can go ahead and instantiate the loot prefab, and we're just going to do it at the player's position. We don't need to rotate it at all.
Probably would drop loot. Yeah, we're right here. Instantiate. What are we instantiating? The loot prefab. What's the location? It's the player, that position. This seems like a weird way to do it.
Also, we'll just put quaternion.identity to have no rotation. Now for this loop
No
prefab to
rotation.
work, we need to feed it some information. To do that, let's first of all store the reference to our loot. So we'll just make a loot reference here called loot. It's going to be equal to the game object we just instantiated, as well as we need to put .getComponent loot. Now we can talk to the loot component on the newly instantiated item we're putting in the scene. And when we do that, we can just tell the loot that we're putting into the scene that it needs to initialize. It won't like that because we haven't made this method yet, but here we'll just one more time pass along the scriptable object as well as the quantity. Now let's head quantity. Now let's head over to our loot script where we can create this initialize method. Now initialize is just something we'll run anytime we're spawning in one of these items. And it's going to take in an item scriptable object and an integer for quantity. When we initialize, we're just going to tell this loot that its scriptable object is equal to the one that just got passed in, and that its quantity is also equal to the quantity we just passed along. Now at this point, we want to set the visual identity and the name of this object, which is something we're actually already doing in onValidate. We don't want to duplicate our code, so let's just extract that code. Here I'm going to create a new method called updateAppearance.
Extract it? Okay. And then initialize. And I already tell that's what it's going to be.
And we can paste it in there. Now in both onValidate and initialize, we can just call that method so that we're not running the same lines of code.
Oh, validate and initialize, right? That makes sense.
Code repeatedly. This just helps us to separate concerns and keep our code more readable for the long haul. Now, whenever we have extra items left over that don't fit in our inventory, we'll call this drop loot method, which will then initialize the item, give it a scriptable object and quantity, and change the way it appears. This time there's just a tiny bit of setup, so we can click on our inventory canvas, and in the manager here, we just need to drag in our loot prefab, and also make sure that there's a reference to our player so that the items know where to spawn when we put...
Gotcha. Loot manager. Do. Loot prefab. Wait, what? We drop in a loot prefab?
And in the manager here, we just need to drag in our loot prefab and also make sure that there's a reference to our player so that the items... know where to spawn when we put them on the map. Alright, at this point we're well on our way. We can collect the items, we can even overfill our inventory. However, when that happens, you can see that we're running into a problem. We're dropping the item and simultaneously picking it up all at once, which, while fun, is not what we want. To fix this, we'll head into our loot script and create a flag that will make it so that we cannot pick up the item under circumstances. Let's call this bool can be picked up.
Can be picked up. So we're gonna check whether or not our slots are full or something. Can be picked up above quantity.
Set it to true by default, as we normally want to be able to pick up items. That said, when we initialize an item that's been dropped from our inventory, we'll set this to false so that we can't immediately pick it up as soon as we...
Really? We initialize it. Can be picked up as false.
We drop it into the scene. Now we'll just apply that flag so that when we enter the trigger of this item, we can only pick it up if, first of all, it's the player, but also if the items can be picked up is true. Next, we'll just...
Oh, but you need logic to see if it can be picked up. Otherwise it'll stay false. Oh.
Make an on-trigger exit method, and we're going to extract this if statement here, so that when the player leaves this item, we then toggle back on can be picked up, so that it's true again. That way...
Ah, gotcha. That's smart. So when you leave the collision area, it will tell it to be picked up again. So that you can re-grab it if you want, but you won't you'll have to walk back on it again. That's cool.
Is once we leave the item, if we want to come back and try to pick it up again, we can. No setup necessary at this point. We can just come in, start collecting. We'll see the items are stacking, spilling over, and when we're full, it drops and we move out of the way and we can see that the item is in fact showing up where we were standing. Alright, all that remains now is to be able to right-click on these items in the inventory so that we can drop them if we don't want them or want to make room for something else. Now in order to drop...
Alright, let's do a test. Make sure that is actually the case. Yeah, there's a bug. I can already tell. Yeah, it's I know what's going on. Can be picked up is true. It initializes to false. We don't want to initialize the false. We want to initialize the true. Hold on a second. I may have put this in the wrong spot.
The trigger of this item, we can only pick it...
Initialize to false, so it starts in false. No, it doesn't start in false because you have to call the initialize, so it should be true. But for some reason, it's not. So on trigger enter, collision can be picked up as true. Pick up the loop. On trigger exit, if collision can be picked up as true. On exit. Okay, so what we need to do now, because that's clearly not working, we need to go to the slot. No, not the slot. We need to go to this item. I need these max mushroom items. Oh, we need to make it public as well. Oops, so I could see it. Burn out now. It is public. Alright, let's minimize some of this stuff so I can look at it. Okay, so I guess that's not how you can see, because that's not the script, is it?
Pick it up if, first of all, it's the player, but also if the items can be picked up is true. Next, we'll just make an on-trigger exit method, and we're going to extract this if statement here, so that when the player leaves this item, we then toggle back on can be picked up so that it's true again. That way is once we leave the item, if we want to come back and
So we need the loot script visible. Wait, it doesn't have a loot. No, it does.
try to pick it up again, we can. No setup necessary at this point. We can just come in, start collecting. We'll see the items are stacking, spilling over, and when we're full, it drops and we move out of the way, and we can see that the item is in fact.
Yeah. Alright, so I did a dumb thing, probably. Can be picked up as false. What? Oh, you know why? No, but that should be. Oh. The prefab can be picked up. It should immediately be true, but oh, since it's public, it's false. So we need to do that. Does that change everything? It does. All right, we just changed the prefab to make it. I think we got it. Boink. Boink. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, we have enough space, so it's not gonna. So what we'll do. Okay. Big mushroom, little mushroom, little mushroom. Boing, 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 boing. Collect these guys. 2, 3. Now we're maxed out. This guy should just be boing. Uh oh. Well, that's not correct either. So, and it instantiated the wrong thing. Oh wow, that's a bug. It should have done the max mushroom. I don't know why I picked that random one. That wasn't saved. And maybe that was why? I had a file that wasn't saved. If not, I don't know what happened. Oh, it works. Yeah, I forgot to save the thing. See, they just plop. So can't pick it up. Just end up back. There we go. Excellent.
Showing up where we were standing. All right, all that remains now is to be able to right-click on these items in the inventory so that we can drop them if we don't want them or want to make room for something else. Now, in order to drop the item when we click on it, we need to head to our inventory slot. We already have an on-pointer click method that registers when we click on this. And right now we're doing something when we left-click, which is using the item. We're just going to add an else if statement in the case that our pointer event data is equal to input button dot right, meaning
if quantity, then so we're gonna else it. So this is probably gonna do the exact opposite. Oh, by the way, I bought a $5 game. I had to go to where I went. It was near Poughkeepsie, but on the way home, I stopped to get some McDonald's. My son Drake, and I stopped at the game store, and they had this racing game, which is kind of okay, but it was only $5, so picked it up. Called Alancer's Turbo Racing. Good price. Couldn't say no. That'll be added to the list.
We're right-clicking. And if that is the case, then we just want to call a method in our inventory manager that will drop that item. Here we'll just add this as we want to make sure that the drop item method knows what slot is being dropped from.
Drop item. Yeah, they have a lot of games there that are like $5 range because they're sports games. Some of the games are like I could get them for $3, but just never available anywhere that has them cheaper. But that game is like $8 typically. So I was like, well, I do want to get the game at some point. So for $5, it was cheaper than the burger that I got. I had to stop at McD's to get Happy Meals because they got the little plush toys that the kids like, and I needed something to eat. So I got a Bacon McDouble, I guess it was called. So that was $5, and the game was cheaper than a Bacon McDouble or whatever that thing was I ate. It's just funny. So we want to drop item method inventory.
So we can update the.
But I had to eat. What you gonna do?
Head into the inventory manager where we'll have to actually create this method. Now our drop item method will make use of the drop loot, as it will have to put things on the map, but it also needs to update the slot itself, so we've got a little extra logic to put here. We'll make sure that this method takes in an inventory slot so that we can update that data. And we'll begin by calling the drop loot method, which will just drop that item. So we'll pass along the item SO. And at this time, we're just going to make it so it drops 1 every time. So we'll put a 1 here. We can then
Drop item 1 quantity. Oops, instantiate. So it just drops it. Ah, okay.
then tell our slot that it needs to decrease its quantity by 1. And at this point, if our slot's quantity has reached 0 or lower, we want to make sure that it's empty. To do that, we'll tell it that its item scriptable object is now null, and then regardless of whether the slot's empty or not, we need to update it. So that
The
its
Mega Man
quantity text
2?
now is correct. Alright, with that done, we can collect different items, put them in our inventory, and if we decide that we would like to make room for a new item, we can in fact right-click in order to drop it. Say the mushrooms are better than the steak, we can drop that steak.
Got a 50-50 chance this actually works. We'll see. Do do ba do ba do do. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. If I only wanted one of those, pick those up. These are maxed out. I can still pick up that. All right, logic is good. Oh, we gotta get that money though. Pow. I kind of want that to be to say 0 though, because I don't like that it says 0 0 0. It's kind of dumb. So let's fix that. And yeah, so if that's 0, that will disappear, which is good. So inventory slots, golds. Oh no, that's not actually the gold. This is the gold. Let's just fix. Let's just turn this to 0. It'll look better. Maybe even move it over a little bit. I think that looks good. Zero. I want to go. Ooh. Boost. Yeah. That says 0 though. Wait. Did not disappear. Probably because of the less than equal thing. Yeah, that's odd. I think that's a bug. I probably created that bug, but All right. Should be taking notes. So how many videos left? Setting up the user interface for the shop system. Fill in shop items. Shop system. Shop system. There's a lot of shop system parts. And after that, animate the shopkeepers.
Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio. This is the final setup video before we get to work on the actual shop for this shop system. And where we left off, we're at the point that we can collect items. However, each time we collect a new item, it just fills a new slot. There's no stacking, and we can keep collecting items even after our inventory is full. So in this video,
we handle that.
Stacking, we're going to make it so that excess items get dropped, and we'll also add functionalities to drop from so we can update the visuals. We'll then head into the inventory manager where we'll have to actually create this method. Now our drop item method will make use of the drop of whether the slot can in fact right click in order to drop it. Say the mushrooms are better than the steak, we can drop that steak on the map, go collect some mushrooms instead. Alright, that's working quite nice. Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio, and we are finally ready to start building the shop.
Before we move along, I need another drink and a little snack. Probably going to stream for about another half an hour and then go to bed. I don't want to be up too late tonight, but I don't have to go to work tomorrow. I have the day off, plus Friday, plus Saturday, plus Sunday, plus Monday, so we'll be around. Whew. Cold in this basement, man. When's the warm weather happening? Ugh. Okay. All right.
For this shop system. In this video, we'll be setting up the user interface for our shop. It's going to have three parts. We'll start with the top panel that allows us to toggle between items, armor, and weapons. Next, we'll create the slots that will hold the items for sale in the shop.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
We'll create a pop-up menu to show the player key information about items whenever they mouse over them. This will give us a great start and get us ready to start actually coding this thing in the next video. All right, let's get started. All right, now to get started, we're going to right-click over in the hierarchy, go to UI, and add a canvas. This will be the shop canvas, which will hold each of the panels we mentioned earlier. Now,
We're going with the shop canvas. All right, so one thing I do need to do is sort out some of this stuff here. It's getting extremely unwieldy. Create a new game object. Oh wait, even better. We're gonna shift all, create game object, create empty parent. Or no, hold on. Ah, there we go. Just call items. So much stuff. Alright, so we need a new UI. It's gonna be shop UI. Shop canvas, technically. I also need get rid of the enemies so I can actually walk around and not get slaughtered.
before we do anything else at all, let's click on the shop canvas, head over to our canvas scaler. We just want to change it from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. And then we just need to set our reference resolution.
Also, even he has a shortened, so maybe that's normal. Maybe that's normal. I don't know. Right, because the screen is small. Anyway, okay. Constant pixel size. We want to scale the screen size. 1920 by 1080.
Here, so we want to match that. All right, with that done, we're ready to get moving. From here, we'll right-click on that canvas, and we're going to add an image, which will be our shop. I'll just double-click on that so we can zoom out and see it in context. I'll turn on my gizmos so I can see where my screen is. You'll notice I've got a lot of TextMesh Pro items going on here. I'm actually just going to turn off my UI manager right now just to clean that up so we don't have to see it.
Oh, you have that same problem, but whatever.
Right, I'm just going to size this image up to about 1500 by 1000, which will look massive for now, but don't worry. We're going to make this into the banner vertical if you're using tiny swords, and we're going to do a little bit of changes too that'll make it fit just nicely. Now, I just want to say a few things about the way I've set up these images. If I click on the banner vertical here, you can see that I have mine set to 64 pixels per unit. That's the only really important setting here, but if we go into the sprite editor, you'll see that I have 9 sliced it, which is just using this green outline here, and it breaks it into 9 sections, with the corners always being preserved and fixed, while the insides and sides can be
Yeah, we already did that.
size. Now then, I can click on the shot panel. First, let's just turn off raycast target so that we're not clicking on it or
Turn off raycast target because it's not.
having it block things behind it that we want to click. For image type though, we can now go to sliced, and this just gives us the ability to change our outline now, and I want it to match my UI for health. If I set it to about 0.5, you'll notice that it got a lot chunkier and much more in line with the UI I've been using all along.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Snazzy.
And then just drag it down into the bottom right corner here so that I can still see my health HUD, my inventory, and everything else. Now we're ready to add our top panel, so just right click on the shop, add a UI image. We'll call this one top panel. I'm using the carved 9 slides, which just provides a nice backing to put our...
We call it top panel. We're making a shop. Following along. Still awake. Carved what is it?
Lettering on.
9 slides? Carved 9 slides. Not carved 9 slides. Okay.
I'll set the pixels per unit 2.5 like we did for our outline, and
It is
I'm
sliced.
going to set mine to about 1100 by 140.
I'm going by what he has because he's already done the math. Then I don't have to do it.
Which gives us a nice banner. I'm going to head to my rec transform and actually anchor it up to the top. You can click this top one and then also hold down Option or Alt on PC in order to make it go all the way up. Now obviously it sucks right to the top of the image altogether, and so we want to add a little bit of a margin on the y-axis to move it down. I'll set mine at about -200. We'll make sure to also turn off raycast targeting once again.
These are little things that like I forget to do.
At this point now I just want to add a component here. We're going to put a grid layout group. What this will do is make it so each of the buttons for items, armor, and weapons is put onto a grid and nicely spaced out. We'll come back to this component in just a little bit once we've actually created those buttons. Now let's create that first button. So we're going to add a UI image to our top panel here. I'm just going to put the button blue 9 slides this time around. Once again, we'll select sliced. And for these ones, I'm actually going to use a pixels per unit mark of
What do you say? Button, blue, 9 slides. And this actually isn't sliced. No, it is sliced.
about 1, which just makes it a little finer, which
Yeah, mine does not look like that. You know why? Go to the actual image. Oops. So that, no, bilinear, point no filter, yeah, clamp, height, full, single, multiple. Unapplied import settings. Sure. Alright, so what do we gotta do here? We need to sprite editor. See, I have that there. Does that mean that this needs to be just 0.5? Shop button. This per unit. Well, that's not right. 3. So why is that? I don't know why that is. But that, I mean, that's what we want.
Allows us to fit more content on it. Also, you'll notice this one I actually hadn't set up yet. I'll just make it 64 pixels per unit. I'm just going to come in and quickly do some 9 slicing by bringing in these green lines. Once that's all finished, I'll apply and we're ready to go. Alright, with those changes, you'll notice the slicing did a funny thing where now it's super chunky. So it will just come into the image here, and I'm actually going to set this one with a pixels per unit mark of about 2, which gives it a nice fine look similar to the one in my inventory.
See, he literally, well, you can't see what I'm looking at, but
we'll call this object text, and then in the Text Mesh Pro, we'll write items. And in the rect transform,
text items. Okay, so this is just going to be a button feel. All text for simplicity. Items. We're going to use bangers. He's gonna probably size this up.
I'm just gonna click on the one that expands in all directions.
Expands in all directions. Yeah, I guess that's probably smart.
I'll hold Option in order to have it actually suck up so it takes up all the space of the parent. From here you can make it look however you like. I'll be using the Bangers font. I'm just going to click on color and make this one black. I'm also going to go with a font size of about 72. Don't worry too much about the size as we'll resize that in a moment. A little note on style, you'll notice that I do have an outline here of about 0.3, and I'm also giving it an underlay, which just gives it that little bit of a drop shadow effect, and that's by putting a slightly negative value on both the X and Y offsets. Just going to close that up, go back to our top panel, and now in the grid layout group, we can resize things. I'm going to go with a cell size of about 300 by 100.
Wait, what is it?
Notice that I do have an outline here of about 0.3, and I'm also giving it an underlay, which just gives it that little bit of a drop shadow effect, and that's by putting a slightly negative value on both the X and Y offsets. Just going to close that up, go back to our top panel, and now in the grid layout group, we can resize things.
Close it out, go to the top panel, go to the grid layout group, and resize.
I'm going to go with a cell size of about 300 by 100. And you'll notice that fits much nicer already. Next, I'm just going to head down to my prefabs folder and actually drag the shop button down there. That way when we make changes to one...
Good idea. Oh, what the hell is that? That's not what we want. Would you like to create a new original prefab? Original prefab.
one we can apply it to all of the buttons, which will save our time later on if we want to do little edits or changes. I can then duplicate it, and thanks to our grid layout, it makes sure that these apply in a nice grid shape. That said, I'm not in love with the default way this organizes, so let's set it so that it aligns along middle center, and then add a bit of spacing as well.
We didn't want the grid layout, so we're gonna be in top panel. Spacing. Wait, what did I do?
Grid shape. That said, I'm not in love with the default way this organizes, so let's set it so that it aligns along middle center.
Oh, that's what he did. Child alignment instead of upper left, middle center.
And then add a bit of spacing as well. I'm gonna use a spacing of about 25 on the X just to give the
Spacing. It's alright.
room. Next, if I click on my shop button, since I made this a prefab, I can now go up to the top here and open up the prefab. I'm also going to click on normal, which just lets me see the prefab in.
Hold on, what? I actually don't see that, so we're just gonna do this. Oh my goodness. That's not gonna work. Shop button. The prefab is busted. Oh, this is what it's talking about. Select.
Context of the actual UI.
Hold on.
I'm going to use a spacing of about 25 on the X just to give them some room. Next, if I click on my shop button, since I made this a prefab, I can now go up to the top here and open up the prefab. I'm also going to click on normal, which just lets me see the prefab in context of the actual.
Oh, I see. Dude, this does not look good. Shop button. All right, so let's delete this. Yes. Then we're gonna delete this other one. I think I know what happened. It's something stupid. We're gonna get out of here. It's fine. Shift all. Alright, maybe not shift all. Prefab. Missing object, exactly. We don't want that to be a prefab. So we need to go here. So now we click on it. Shop button. Why does it look like this? Uh, I don't get it, man. It makes no sense. Alright, so what we need to do is delete this shot prefab, get back to our scene. Missing prefab? None. It's gonna be looking for a prefab. If I duplicate. To make this a prefab. Rename this. Shop. Button. Oh, it still does this. I don't get that, man. I don't understand that. It's so weird. It's not the same. Why is it being like this? Because it's not. I know why. Because it's not part of. It's not part of the. So what did it do? What he did something.
UI that it's on. And now if I just head down, I'm also going to click on normal, which just lets me see the
Context. Context. Dude, I don't see context up here. You got some crazy stuff going on here. Show overrides. Scenes. Shop button. Context. Normal, gray, hidden. Start over. This is not correct. So what if I do this and I throw in a shop button? It works perfectly fine. But then when I look at the prefab, it looks absolutely horrible. Alright, so I'm not gonna stress out about it. 1, 2.
Context of the actual UI that it's on. And now if I just head down here, I can actually center align this so that it looks a lot nicer.
So we're just gonna go shop button, text, center align. It's because it's being adjusted.
Prefab and I'm applying those changes. Any changes I make applies to the other buttons as well. And also just give it a top margin of about 10 just to move it down a bit. That's looking much nicer.
Oh, that's a good point. Top panel. We do a Y spacing.
About 10 just to move it down a bit. That's looking much nicer. And let's just take a moment right now to go into the text of the other two buttons and change them to whatever else you want in your
items, weapons, armor. Mario, yeah. I got music playing in the background just so it's not completely dead silence. Good old Mario Brothers 3.
Armor. With that done, let's close up the top panel, right-click on the shop, and now we can add yet another image. This one will be our item panel. Once again, I'll be using the Carve 9 slides, and we'll make it not a raycast target. Again, I'm going to anchor this up to the top, and then just bring it down so that it's still anchored to the top of the object. But it's got a nice margin on top. We'll set the width to about 1100 and 500 for the height, and then just shift this into place nicely. Now, similar to how the top panel housed a bunch of buttons, this one is going to house all of our slots for the inventory. So again, we'll add a grid layout group. This time let's go ahead and initialize the settings. I'm going to go with a
Yeah.
base cell size of 260 by 230 and I'm also just going to add a spacing of 10 by 10. Now we're ready to add some actual buttons, so let's right-click on the panel, go to UI, Button, Text Mesh Pro. We need to call this one Shop Slot, and this time we'll be using the button blue 9 sides. Once again, this time
Button 9 slides.
time we will leave Raycast Target checked. I'm going to just delete the Text Mesh Pro on this button as we're going to be adding a bunch of different images and text.
Good point.
In a slightly different fashion. So now let's go ahead and go to UI, and we're going to add an image.
To the button. Oh, this is actually a shop slot, technically. Add insert UI image.
I'm just going to create a banner on which we'll put the name of the item. So we can call this name banner. I'm going to use the ribbon red 3 slides for this one. I'll anchor it up to the top, and then just give it a width of 280 and a height of about 120.
Ribbon banner, reds, ribbon, red. $280 by 100.
We'll put the item name up. On top of this, we can right-click that banner, add UI Text Mesh Pro, and call it item name. For now,
Kirby.
Now we'll just put item name in here as a placeholder. In the rect transform, I'll expand this in all directions, but then I am going to just kind of bring these corners in so that it's not all overlapped. The ribbon part we don't want it to be on. Once again, I'm going to use the Bangers font, set it to black. I'll set enter this one nicely and go with a size of about 48. And then also just going to bring up the bottom a little so that it centers more nicely on the ribbon part. Just going to make a tiny adjustment to the name banner and bring it up a little as that looks nicer. I can then close it up, right click on the shop slot. And now we can add the image we'll use for our actual item. Icon. I'm going to use the mutton idle here and turn off raycast, and this will just be my placeholder icon for now. And then just going to expand it in all directions, and you can decide how much overlap you want. You can
idle 0. Expand.
play around with the margins a little if you want to bring it in or leave the overlap. It's up to you. Last
item name.
if you want to bring it in or leave the and then just going to expand it in all directions, and you can decide how much overlap you want. You can play around with the margins a little if you want to bring it in or leave the overlap. It's up to you. Last step for these is to add a spot to put
Shop name icon. Item name. Uh-oh. Something ain't right. Name icon?
and then just going to expand it to 8. And then else 280 and a height of about 120. We'll put the item name on top.
Alright, so we got slap shot. Oh, right. Name icon. Name banner. Just go up. There we go. Name banner.
Top of this, we can so then I am going to just kind of bring these corners in size of about 48. And then also just going to bring up the bottom a little so that it's set cost. So I'm going to add a UI image here. We'll to you. Last step for the on for now. And then just going to expand it in all directions, and you can decide how much overlap you want. You can play around with the margins a little if you
Yeah, this is gigantic, so let's fix that. That's pretty good.
if you want to bring it in or leave the overlap. It's up to you. Last step for these is to add a spot to put our cost. So I'm going to add a UI image.
So item shop slot. Then we're gonna want a image
Here, we'll turn off raycast once again.
cost.
Then we'll use the button underscore hover 3 slides, which is just a
Cost. Button hover, 3 slots. Hover 3. Button hover, 3 slots, huh? I guess that's what we're using this.
Different color to mix things up a little bit visually. I'm actually just going to leave this one as simple. I'm going to anchor it down into the bottom right corner. I'm going to offset it with a slight overlap here, give it a width of 120 and a height of 80.
Light overlap, huh? That's pretty good.
At this point, we can just add some Text Mesh Pro on there, which will display the price itself. I'm just going to put 99 as my placeholder. We'll expand that to fill all of the space. I'm going to go with bangers. This time I'm actually going to use the drop shadow, which in my case is white with a black outline.
We made that earlier. Okay.
To mix things up, I'm going to go with a size of 48. We'll center this, and then I'm just going to play with my margins to get it exactly the way I like it. If you're wanting the same sort of look I have, you'll notice here. Here we have a black outline with a thickness of, let's actually set it to 0.3. And I'm also using just a little bit of an underlay here. To make this match my other one, I'm going to go with negative on both the X and Y, so it just has a little bit of a shadow in the bottom left. That concludes our shop slots. I'll just close that up, drag it into my prefabs.
Sure. Shop slot.
And, well, we'll just duplicate these slots. We should be able to fit 8 of them.
Alright, so may need to do some adjustments. So we do that by going into shop slot. We need to adjust the banner. Yeah, we can adjust the banner by bringing that down. We don't want to do that. We want to bring in the Y down. We didn't think it's too crazy.
And now if you like to, you can play around with your grid to change spacing, but I don't mind the busy look, and I like the fact that we can fit 8 items in here. Now the last thing we want here is some sort of a UI to show the stats of whatever item we're currently looking at. And for this, we're going to use a pop-up menu. So we'll close up our shop panel, right-click on it, and let's start by adding a UI image. I'm going to call this one Info Pop-up.
Shop panel. This is going to be cool. info pop up. This is neat. I never knew you could do
Use
this.
the banner vertical, and I'm just going to move it down into the bottom left here.
Banner vertical. Down to the left.
You'll notice that it almost looks like it's not
Yeah.
even there. It's actually just very small. I'll give this a width of about 400 and a height of 350, and now it's looking about right. But this one time I am going to change the pivot from 0.5 on each to 0 on the X and 1 on the Y. This will make more sense later on, but it's just going to change where this appears in relation to the mouse later on when we add it as a pop.
Oh, 0, 1 pivot. Interesting. 0, 1.
I'm going to give the info pop-up its own canvas group. This just allows us to toggle it on and off by changing the alpha, which will actually affect.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's so cool. Lost recast now. Now, alpha 1 and 0.
The parent as well as all children objects. And for now, let's turn off interactable and blocking raycasts, as we won't need to actually click on it. This one's actually going to take a fair bit of UI work, so let's get started. We're going to right-click, add an image called name backing, and once again we'll use that carved 9 slides. I'm going to set mine to 240 by 55 and then just move it up right into the top here. I'm going to continue unclicking the raycast here, though the canvas group kind of does that for us as well. At this point we can add our Text Mesh Pro, and this will be the name of the item again, so let's put item name as our placeholder. As we've done a lot of, we're going to expand it in all directions, set some margins. I'm continuing to use bangers.
Margins is doing 15. They do something fast.
As we've done a lot of, we're going to expand it in all directions, set some margins.
15, 10, 10, 15.
Continuing to use bangers, I'll set it to black, center that up nicely. Then we can close that up and head to our next section, which will be where we actually describe the item. I'm going to call this one description. We'll add the carved 9 slides again. And go with a width of 240 by
By 80.
70, and then drag it into place.
70. Oh yeah, for more height.
Place pretty close to the
He's got this thing pretty small.
item name. We'll add a UI text mesh pro called description text. And just write some sort of dummy text in here, stuff about the item. We'll then make sure that this expands to fill the entire area and give it a little bit of a margin so it's not overlapping with that rough edge.
Mhm.
Once again, bangers, we'll set it to black, change our font size down to about 16.
Fair enough.
Just going to copy this text 3 times so we can see how 3 lines will look when they're there's a lot of text here. All right, that's looking not too bad, so we'll close up our description and head to the final section. Here we'll add one more UI image. This one's where we're going to put our actual stat. I go with 240 by 92, it fits that image. This one's where we're
Almost done with this.
font size down to about 16. Just going to copy this text 3 times so we can see how 3 lines will look when there's a lot of text here. All right, that's looking not too bad, so we'll close up our description and head to the final section.
Description. Name. Name backing. The image. I think this is just backwards. Yeah, that's all. Wait, what? Nipple pop. Name backing.
We'll then make, at this point we can add our text mesh pro, and this will be the name of the item again. So let's put item name as our folder, as nicely. Then we can close that up and head to our next section, which will be where we actually describe the item. I'm going to call this one description. We'll add the carved 9 slides again, go with a width of 240 by 70, and then drag it into place.
The description should be the picture. Should be the image. That's why. Okay. Trying to make this make sense. All right, we're good.
Close to the item name. We'll add a UI, we'll set it to black, and I'll just actually move the description up a hair so they're equally spaced out. We'll stat, I go with 240 description and head to the final section. Here we'll add
Go pop.
one more UI image. This one's where we're going to put our actual stats. I go with 240 by 92. It fits that space really nicely.
240 by 92.
And I'll just actually move the description up a hair so they're equally spaced out. I'll turn off raycast target again, and now we're ready to actually add some stats here, but different items are going to have a different number of stats, and so we want to be able to instantiate just the number of text for the number of stats there are. For this, we're going to use a grid layout group to help us organize.
Whew, okay. This is... Alright, we're almost... There's only a minute left in this video that I'm watching. It's getting a little crazy, though.
Stats as we spawn them in during the game. I'm going to give this some presets that we can.
A grid layout for this image. Stats. Grid. Left 15. Padding. Grid layout padding.
Can change it later. And the cell size
15, 10, 10.
for each of these stats will be 110 by 25. Now if I right click on stats, I can add Text Mesh Pro. I'll call this stat text. For some weird reason my grid didn't kick in there, so I just copied a duplicate and it went back into place and I deleted it. Not quite sure why that happened, but it's
Stats text. Huh. He's right.
in right now. All right, we're gonna use bangers. Again, I'm gonna use this drop shadow. One just for a change. We're gonna make this one white with black outlines. So I'm gonna put health +1 as sort of my dummy text. And then I'll give it a font size of 24. Now, because we're going to duplicate or get rid of these dynamically at runtime, I'm going to make it into a prefab and then duplicate it so we can see what it looks like with up to 6 different stats present. At once. Then we can close up stats. One last thing that I just want to do quickly before we finish here is go right back up to our shop canvas. And I'm just going to add a canvas group onto this item, similar to what we did on our info pop-up. Again, this just allows us to easily toggle this on and off. and also to change its interactability and raycast blocking with a single line of code. We're actually all set now so that in the next video we can actually get this thing coded so that it's holding real data about real items. Hope to see you.
Woo, that was a lot. All right, so we need to save this. Save. We need to upload. This is all the stuff I changed. That's crazy. So we added. No, what did we do? Item inventory. Actually, item pickup and drop. Item pickup, drop. UI for top started. More to come. Check all that in. Now it's saved. I'll make sure all my scripts are saved as well. Sometimes I forget that. Good. All good. Okay, that is going to do it for tonight. Tomorrow night we were going to be playing more of Crystallis on the NES. Since tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll try to beat the game and go from there. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. It was a lot. We got a couple of bugs, but that's okay. Ton of cool stuff going on in this game so far. And eventually we're going to get to the point where all the systems are built. I can actually make this a playable game. There's more things to do, but hey, we're doing good. We're doing great. So thanks for hanging around. Have a great night. And now we'll, well, Golden Ogre coding will be on next Sunday, but Golden Ogre Games will be streaming retro playthroughs. Check me out.